Alright, here we are. This is going to be a Plat 5 Syndra game where she loses despite being fed. So, we're going to see what happens here. Just looking at the comps, the enemy team comp has Alawi, who should beat Master Yi in lane, Graves, and Trundle, which is Lysandra versus Syndra, Misfortune versus Caitlyn, and Blitzcrank versus Zillion. Okay. So the enemy team comp is very much a team fighting Wombo style comp. Um, Graves ult, Alawi ult, Lysandra AoE in general, Misfortune ult, etc. That's all very good Wombo combo. So they have a lot of potential AoE damage on your entire team. And considering you are all very squishy except for the Trundle, like you have four squishy champions, it's very possible that they can delete you, especially if they get ahead. The enemy team comp is also fairly good at picks, um, because they have a Blitzcrank and a Lysandra. Like those two are really good at picking, and if they can get Blitzcrank, Lysandra, and Graves as like a three-man unit at some point, that's going to be a very strong skirmishing ball. Um, so you guys, on the other hand, your comp is kind of all over the place. Zillion, Caitlyn, and Syndra work well with Siege, but Trundle and Master Yi kind of want to split push. I guess this would be a decent split pushing comp. Because Caitlyn and Syndra have a bunch of wave clear, and Zillion can make sure that if one of you guys gets like picked out or whatever, he has an opportunity to save you guys, and at least buy time for the Master Yi and the Trundle to work on towers. But for that to work, one of these guys needs to be really ahead, either the Master Yi or the Trundle. Um, because if they're not ahead enough, the Alawi will be able to 1v1 them. She has quite a bit of 1v1 potential. And like I said, this three-man unit here is really strong. So, um, as Syndra in this game, it does not look very fun for you. Mainly, I say that because of the Lysandra and the Blitzcrank. Lysandra likes to shit all over mobile mids. There's no mid laner that is easier to gank for than Lysandra because she has a point and click AoE, or she has a point and click stun, and then she has an AoE stun and a gap closer to get on top of you. So, if you were playing at like a higher level in this matchup, I imagine the Lysandra would take TP and the Syndra would take cleanse. Because if you don't take cleanse versus Lysandra, you'll just die to so many ganks, so many really easy ganks. Um, Graves doesn't have a lot of CC himself, but he has a lot of damage to make up for it, and he can really fuck you. Um, so taking ignite, it's okay. Taking cleanse would be a strong choice. The other strong choice would be taking TP. You're lucky that Lysandra took ignite because Lysandra she isn't really about winning a 1v1. She's more about setting things up for the rest of her team. She's like winning 2v2s and 3v3s. That's what Lysandra tries to do. Usually Lysandra takes TP and she tries to get ahead in the game by making a bot lane play similar to a top laner, where she just like TP's bot and then gets behind the enemy guys and CCs them all and they all die. Um, she didn't this game, which is really bad. Like if you ever play Lysandra mid, you should take TP on it. It's just so good. There isn't. I don't know if there's a better TP user in the game than Lysandra because that's how strong her TP ganks are. Even with the delay now, the 4 second delay as opposed to the 3 second delay, she's still a very strong TP ganker. Um, this is one of the reasons that Lysandra is kind of picked into Syndra a lot, right? Because number one, Syndra is an immobile mage, and Lysandra has the ability to really lay down the CC on top of mobile mages and lock them down. And two, Syndra has this really strong mid-game roam power spike, where if she operates in a two-man or a three-man unit with a jungler or something like that, or if she ganks side lanes, she's really strong. She's one of the strongest mid-game mid laners there are. And the problem with Lysandra is she's not like as good in like a 1v1, but she's better than you in those 2v2s and those 3v3s. And if she had teleport, she would just be able to completely out pressure you. And for this game to work, you really do need to roam on Syndra. That's the other thing. Like your Master Yi needs to be ahead, and he's not going to get ahead on his own, and you shouldn't rely on your jungler to do it. Your bot lane is playing versus a Misfortune and a Blitzcrank. That is the fucking bully lane right there. That's a pain in the ass. Caitlyn has to play really safe, and Zillion is so squishy. That lane can go bad really early, really easily. And so they'll need you to come down and roam and try and clean things up. And in that case, you're lucky the Lysandra didn't take TP. Because if she did, she would just be able to counter all of your roams. Like, all of these lanes for the enemy team win. They should just be able to win every lane. So you really need to make roams happen. You're the only winning lane on your team. Um, and, like, Trundle jungle is okay, but it doesn't have as much pressure as Graves jungle. And, like, you need to be the one doing the ganking, because you're a much more reliable ganker than Trundle is. So we'll see how it turns out. Let's see, what masteries are you taking? Alright. I would not go this way versus versus a Blitzcrank. This is just so greedy. Because if they place a ward in here while you're there, Blitzcrank just flashes forward and tries to Q you, and you either have to flash or have godlike mechanics and dodge the hook. Right? This is so bad. Like, you don't want to be this aggressive versus them. Like, you can ward right here, right? Like, over the wall, and that would be okay. But you do not want to walk into this bush. This is, like, begging for trouble. Honestly, I would just have your jungler start topside rather than fucking work against this bot lane blitz cheese. It's just not worth it. Um, and this can really go badly for you. Like I said, you're in a mobile mage. So, Blitzcrank is trouble for you already, and level 1, he's even more trouble. So I just wouldn't even fuck with this. Also, what mastery is he running? I gotta check. Okay, so you don't have any MR. What do you have? Life steal, attack speed, crit chance, speed. Mana. Okay, so you're taking scaling cooldown reduction. That's fine. That's fine.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
If you don't already, you should check and see what your other opposing mid laner is running. And she is probably running scaling AP. That's what it looks like. Because she doesn't have any cooldown reduction. And she doesn't have any extra MR. And she doesn't have any extra move speed, so she's probably running cooldown reduction. Oh, what the fuck? She's running AP. She's running flat AP blues. Okay. That's weird. She's going for that early cheese. Let's see what happens. Okay. It's good that you're matching her push. You're trying to match it at least. Good. Oh, you're gonna miss those. Feels bad. Okay, you should try and use spells for a reason. Like, if you want to push the wave, push the wave. If you want to try and harass her, you shouldn't do it right there. You should wait until this minion's in last hit range, and then you should try and harass her. But just throwing out Qs, you're going to run out of mana over time if you just repeatedly do this. Because it's always tempting to spam Syndra Qs because they have such low mana cost. But they don't do a lot of damage, and they have a really low cooldown, so it's really easy to just get in the habit of using Syndra Qs all the time. And you'll find that you run out of mana. Okay. Oh, that feels bad. Yeah. So that was just you not hitting the W. One other thing is, like, W does a lot of damage early, but sometimes it's just better to take E second. Primary reason is because it doesn't let them trade back on you. Like, if you land a QE You can Q, E, auto, auto, and like walk away, or in this case probably just auto and walk away because she has a fairly long range with Q through minions. So, and that doesn't give them an option to retaliate when they get stunned, and that gives a really easy 3 hit proc. Because if you just slow her, it's really easy for her to turn and do some damage in response. But if you stun her or push her back, she can't necessarily do that. Lysandra is fairly short range when she doesn't get to be inside of her Ring of Frost range. Like even her Ice Shard doesn't go that far if it doesn't pass through minions. So I would take your E because of that. The other reason is just in general, some junglers like to do level 3 cheese bullshit, right? Because look at where you are right now. You're level 2, junglers are level 3. Some junglers like to go from like Gromp to Red to either what's it called? Their third camp, and they'll just come right from behind you if you're pushing up, and they'll smack the shit out of you. Like if a Gragas comes from over here when you're pushed up over there, and he body slams you, you're fucking gone. Um, but the only option you have to really retaliate to that is try and stun him as soon as you see him, and you'll probably see him like right here or whatever. However far, yeah, if you're not standing here, you'd see him like right here, wherever the tower range is, and you'd have the chance to stun him. And in that case, he'd have to flash the stun. If he didn't wanna, if he wanted to try and still make something worse, he'd have to flash the stun. Otherwise, you can just stun him and then walk away, and you'd be fine. And so that prevents a lot of early cheese. In other lanes, it is necessary, just for the record. Like if you're against a LeBlanc, you have to take E second. Otherwise, she just wins the trades. Uh, but other than that, I generally prefer E second to W. Ouch. Okay. So the good news is she's starting to run out of mana. Okay, again, that was a point where you like didn't really need to harass her there. Like you should have waited for her to try and last hit this minion instead of throwing that Q to try and hit her. There you go. That was a good stun because you got the 2 balls, so it was much more likely to hit. So now she's running out of mana, slowly but surely, which is good for you. If you don't spam Qs for no reason, you'll win this lane just because she'll have to back and respect your mana advantage. The other thing with Syndra is that you should know that you're not like your Q. You can Q and auto at the same time, right? Because it doesn't like you're unlike Lysandra, your Qs don't stop your movement at all. So you can like walk forward and still CS and still hit them with a Q. You have a lot of options. Lysandra has to stand still when she does that, and so that would have been an opportunity to harass her. And it's fine for you because she's wasting like what is it now, 95 mana? Oh, it's 85 still to do that, and you're only wasting 40. What is it for? Nice stun. Yeah, you're punishing her for this. How much is your W? 60. Yeah, you just win trades off of mana, which is what's happening in this lane. As long as you don't use too many Qs on the minions, you should be able to all in her at 6. Yeah, you need to like stop trying to Q the minions. When the wave is in this position, you don't need to Q the minions, right? Because it's already pushing into her. You should just save it for harass. You should save it for the zoning instead of trying to back. Like now you have to back because you're low on mana, or at least you want to back. And all that's going to happen is she's going to push this into tower now for free, and you're going to miss some gold, probably going to miss some XP, and she's going to come back and she's going to get 6 before you. So you lost a kill opportunity because you weren't really managing your mana that well.
First blood.
I mean, you still had more than her just because your mana costs overall are much cheaper than hers, but you could have had a big advantage if you had stayed in lane, and you could have forced her to back first, and you could have forced her to miss a wave. Like, you shouldn't be missing any of the CS at all. I mean, you didn't really miss that much in the first place. You only missed 1. But you shouldn't have had to miss any, and she should have had to miss a whole wave. Like, there was no reason you needed to back first. When you have the advantage in lane, you don't need to back first, especially since your jungler is, like, right there. And now she's coming back with Negatron, and you're not going to be able to kill her. Unless she really fucks up. You have a pretty big advantage already. You could have had a bigger advantage. Because when Lysandra doesn't have any mana, she can't ult. So you're not really in danger. Because she's just been using most of her mana on the wave anyway. I'm missing a lot of W's. I don't think you play Syndra too regularly because that's a little odd. Yeah, and look at this. Like, she has 6 now. Let's get her ass. Okay, you got it. You're still poking her down. So. Uh-oh. She doesn't have any mana, though. You should be able to kill her. Holy shit. That was close. If you had actually hadn't flashed, you would have died to minion aggro. Alright. Yeah. Okay, it's just worth noting that you got a danger ping right here from your team. So if I were you, I would just like walk over here. Because I'm pretty sure that he tried to gank top or something like that. So if I were you, I would legit just walk down here and back in here. Right? Or if you really like don't want to walk that far, you can walk right here and back right here. Because if he has to come through here, you know he has a really low chance of killing you. And this is barely out of Graves' ult range from there. So instead he's probably just gonna... Oh, he doesn't have Graves' ult. Okay. But you don't know that. Right? I mean, you can guess since your Trundle is 5, but Graves clears slightly faster, so you're not sure. So you should not be backing like in here. Because if you didn't see this ping, it's understandable, but you should be watching out for this. So. Yeah. Feels bad. So your bot lane is having a hard time. Okay, so you come back. Feels wave clear, man. How much gold do you have? You probably don't have... You have 250 gold, and you have no pots, and you have no pink ward. That's a little weird. You're also down CS, but that's because you weren't managing the wave correctly, and you've been pushed in twice, and you backed in a bad spot and died for it. But it is a little odd, right? You know Graves has been doing work. Like, he's farming hard, he has a kill too, so he's probably going to be a problem. You need to get ward coverage for yourself. Right, pink wards are super important because Lysandra at this point is probably not going to be able to kill you on her own. You already solo killed her. You have a little bit of an advantage off of that. She's probably not going to be able to kill you. You need to ward up and just make sure that the Graves doesn't get fed off of you. I don't think he does, but that's what he might. That's what he could do. It's one of his options. Because like I said, Lysandra's really easy to gank for, even if she's behind. Oh, that was a nice stun. Oh my god, is he gonna die? Alright. I guess if you try to tower dive like a dumbass without a wave. That was a nice stun. Just let him die. And so now since you have red buff, you should try and push this into tower and get some dank tower damage. Because red buff does a ton. Yeah. Okay, I guess the Zillion is just abandoning his laner. Feels bad. Okay, so you do get the good tower damage. Okay, so you're gonna back. You have 1100 gold. Yeah, you can barely finish here. Okay. So Morello's is good versus Alawi. It's good versus Graves if he goes the ability steal item. And it's good versus Lysandra with her self ult too. Alright. This is a good ward. Yeah, this is good. Lets you see everything you need to. Alright, so you're gonna go for a roam bot. Just for the record, this won't normally work as a roam. Mostly because this is commonly worded, this is commonly worded, this is commonly worded, and this is commonly worded. Usually, if you want to make a roam happen bot, it's better to like pink this and then sneak around through here, through this brush, and come around from behind. Because this is a lot less likely. This is really less likely to be warded, and there's like 3 common warding spots you'll walk through. Like this is also commonly warded on the way down to bot. So more reliable roams will come if you come from behind, because they'll only see you right here. Right? Usually, unless they pink ward this brush, which is rare, but some people do it. So if I were you, I would walk from behind instead of through here, because these wards are very common. Like this one, and this one. Especially, like, someone's already warded here. That was on your team, but someone already warded there. And a lot of times this will backfire, especially if the enemy jungler happens to be there. Now, the enemy jungler happens to be top, and that's where most of their ward control is. And their warding is actually pretty bad right now, compared to you guys. But, just to let you know, this is a really, like, low probability roam. Okay, you're lucky they go in on this. She probably didn't need to flash the Cillian ult, so you get one. Holy shit, this Caitlyn is living on the edge. She is the masturbator. Alright. So that roam worked out. You got lucky, because they went way too aggro off of that hook. So you don't know where anyone is topside, so you just need to immediately clear this wave. Right? Because you know that your top laner, your jungler just died. Your top laner also looks like he just died. So you need to clear this as fast as you can. Yeah, and just back off. Because you don't know where anyone is. Do not back here. This is so greedy. Because if Graves comes out, if Lysandra comes out of here and Graves comes out of here, you're dead. You're lucky they're doing this. You don't know they're doing this. You're lucky that they're doing this. Because if they walked mid and decided to push turret instead, because they easily could have, right? Okay, no, Lysandra used her ult, but she still has her W. And she wasn't that low when she came down from top lane. So they probably still could have killed you. Or at least forced you off and done a lot of damage to your turret. But you just shouldn't back there. Honestly, it's safer to back here than it is to back in the middle of the lane. In pink ward now, let's see where you place it. Okay, that's good. Since the Graves has been putting a lot of priority on top lane, this is pretty unlikely to get cleared. Holy shit, she's so bad. No respect for the Syndra damage. Alright. So just for the record, if you want to roam bot right now, the better path to do it is actually over this way. Right? It's over this way because I think this is barely out of tower sight, right? Yeah, this is out of tower sight. So if you wanted to roam bot right now, you don't want to walk through here because this is commonly warded. Instead, you want to walk around this way because they will never ward behind this wall. Like that's only something you see in LCS, right? You never see wards behind this wall in solo queue. So if you just walk through here and you walk down towards bot, again, this is like the first place they'll spot you if you wanted to roam bot. So So you guys lost top turret. You're backing. Okay, at this point, I would be itemizing towards the Zanyas. Like not maybe not complete as Zanya's, but it would be really good to at least get the Seeker's Arm Guard armor because Alawi's fed and Graves is fed and Misfortune is really fucking fed. And when you eventually do complete the Zanyas, it'll be good because it'll also save you from blitz hooks, right? Like Zanyas can save you from Graves ult, it can save you from an Alawi all in, can save you from a Misfortune ult, and it can also save you from blitz hooks. So Zanyas has stats that are good versus 3 out of the 5 enemy team members, and it has an active that is good versus 4 out of the 5 enemy team members. I don't include Lissandra because all Lissandra has to do is wait. Like she doesn't lose anything by Egan and Wing on top of your face because she can just ult herself. But everyone else on the enemy team, it's good against. So I think it would be worth it to itemize towards Sonya's. At least get a Seeker's Arm Guard for the armor because this Lissandra ain't going to be killing you anymore. She has no damage. She's going full defensive build. She hasn't even completed an item yet. But these fuckers, they're going to kill you. And as an immobile mage in this game, you need to stay ahead. You're the fed person on your team, and Zanya's is one of those few items in the games that lets you stay ahead, right? Because you can nullify enemy plays when you get Zanya's. All you have to do is press the Zanya's button in the right time, and all of the enemy players' cool plays just go away because you pressed a button, and it keeps you ahead. It's good to do more damage, but it's better to take less damage. Yeah, like some armor would have been nice there.
Blue team's turret
Yeah, because
has
this
been
would have been enough
destroyed.
for a Seekers. Oh, they're gonna take this turret too. Holy. Okay. At least they're punishing the Alawi for being that far up. So. Yeah, otherwise I just don't see this game working out very well for you because they just have so many ways to get onto you and do damage from further away than you do damage. It's just not going to be a fun time for you without Zanya's.
Blue team double kill.
This Lysandra really should have gotten CDR. Oh, there you go.
Blue team triple kill.
That feels bad. Yeah, this Lysandra should really have CDR rooms because her ult is like never off cooldown when it should be. And that flat AP really didn't pay off for her. Alright, so now you have a Void Staff. You're doing insane amounts of damage. Um, but at this point, does the Void Staff really matter? Not versus her, not versus him. Yes versus Lysandra, not so much versus Graves, not so much versus Alawi. Eh, yeah. Holy shit.
Blue team double kill.
He had ult. Why didn't he use it? Okay, that's good. At least you're picking up some kills. But you definitely need a Zanyas before you try and complete Death Cap. Otherwise, you're just gonna die to random picks. Oh my god, this guy's gone. Wow, that ignite was so useful there, Lysandra. Glad it's working out for you. Her cheese AP runes and her ignite just really bring out the strength of her champion. All right, stop shit talking here. Let's go. So at this point, the game is looking kind of rough because it's on your shoulders to carry, and that requires you to play extremely well. Because you have a million things you need to be dodging and just like predicting in order to win this game.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
So playing back, you don't want to use your E for things like that, right? Imagine if this. Okay, if you weren't extremely fed there, she would have gotten away. Alright. The fact that you were just able to Q and press R is, like, you're lucky. You're lucky that you're this fed, because you used your E on that wave, and because of that, she shouldn't have been able to kill you. And you've been using your E on waves just, like, randomly a couple times where you don't need to. And you'll miss out a lot of opportunities when you do that. Like, she was so. You needed to have stun there in order to kill her in most other situations, and you used it on the wave. It's better to just use W and Q. Like, WQ, yeah, it's more than enough to clear the wave. You don't need E, really. And why would you use E when you can use another Q that's going to be up in, a third the time? Whatever it is. What is the cooldown on your Q right now? 2.91 seconds versus 11.64. So, 3 versus 12. Your Q has a quarter of the cooldown. It's just really not worth it to use your E on the wave versus your Q. Oh, you didn't get that last minion. Okay, so at least you're playing safely. Alright, your biggest priority should be not getting hit by the Blitzcrank Q right now, because that's how you lose. Oh. Yeah. So you're like, you didn't even have to use Flash for that. Wow. That's an interesting Lysandra ult.
Red team's turret has been
Nice stun. Oh. Feels bad. Oh, you need to be careful now that you used that. So you need to be like coming around here and then zoning them off. Like now that he used his Q is the only thing in the universe stopping you from being aggro. Right? Now is your E off cooldown? Yes. This guy should be dead. Alright? You should just instantly QE him. And then ult him and he is gone. You do have ult, right? Yeah. This guy shouldn't be able to stand here. Like after he uses his Q, they have no CC threat to you. There's now Lysandra nearby. This guy is like their only hard CC. At all. Right now. So after he uses his Q, you get to be as aggro as you want. You are so fed. They should not be able to walk up to you. At all. You should be over here. Oh, that was a bad E. Yeah. Oh. That feels bad. Oh. Yeah, you needed to use your E differently there. Unlucky. Yeah, this game isn't looking so good. They're pretty fed at this point. And you're like the only one on your team doing work. I love point and click. Um, Probably wasn't worth for you to flash alter though. Probably not, because Lysandra isn't doing anything, right? She's not really doing anything at all. She's not got like a what do you call it? A bounty for you to take or anything like that. Really, she's just kind of there, and she's facilitating the other members of her team. So the fact that you just like Q ult and get a kill there is neat, but you kind of need to save your flash for something else. It would be much more important to use your flash to dodge a blitz hook, or to dodge a Graves ult, or to get in a better position to like kill the ADC or something like that. Like you need to use it against these guys, the three fed members of the enemy team, not the Lysandra, right? I mean, it's stress relieving to do that, to just walk up and press R on someone. I know, because sometimes I just get fed up too, and I like to point and click remove people from the game as well. It's one of my favorite hobbies. But if you're trying to like you're trying to win, you need to understand that that using your flash in that instance just isn't worth. Like it's better to save it for something else, because you not dying is a million times more important than getting a kill on her. Her dying one more time doesn't mean nearly as much as you dying one more time. Like if you die one more time, you probably lose the game, right? And by that I mean you lose an inhib, and then after that the game is just pointless. So you kind of need your flash for that more than you need it for killing the feeding Lysandra. I mean, it'd be one thing if they just like were gonna do Baron, but they could honestly do Baron 4v5 because the rest of your team is just feeding so hard. Oh, good night. Yeah, look, that Syndra, that Lysandra being dead didn't do anything. She just respawned now. You guys didn't get anything off of it. So you're just clearing bot
Red
and
team's
mid.
turret has been destroyed. Legendary. Blue team double kill.
And your team is dying.
Red team's turret has been destroyed. Red team's turret has been
Holy
destroyed.
shit, she still killed you.
Red
Yeah.
team's inhibitor has been destroyed. Shut down. Killing spree.
Would have been nice to have Zanya's, eh?
Has been destroyed.
Probably would have lived there if you had the arm guard. Holy shit, that Caitlyn trapped wrong. How do you trap wrong?
Killing spree.
Oh, good night. Oh. Oh, you could have queued her and gotten the triple, man. Feels bad.
Killing spree. Blue team has slain the dragon.
You need to be using your blue trinket on cooldown in order to get vision back. Because you guys have like no vision control right now. I mean, they don't either, but nice.
Red team's turret has been destroyed. spree.
Uh, and now she's getting strong too. She does not know how to use her traps. Rest in
Red
peace.
team's turret has been destroyed.
Oh, you're dead.
Shut
Yeah.
down.
I don't know why you're itemizing towards
Red
this,
team's turret has been
right?
destroyed. Red team's turret has been
Going for
destroyed.
Leandry's, like you either do it early so you get a magic pen, like the spike with the magic pen, right? Because ideally you'd synchronize like Sorcerer's Shoes, the Haunting Guys, and the Void Staff, and then you just penetrate the enemy's butthole and do millions of damage. But this late in the game, if you're buying Haunting Guys, it's because you're going towards Leandry's. It's not for the rest of the stats. And you want that to shred through a lot of large HP tanks. And they only really have this guy. I don't think the Blitz is that tanky. No, he's really not. The only real HP tank they have is their Alawi. And that's the only reason you'd buy a Leandry's. And it's not worth it. It's just not. Um, and it would be infinitely better if you were itemizing towards the Zanyas. I'm going to say it again because those defensive stats would be much better. You get more cooldown reduction. I don't think you. Yeah, you have. Yeah, you need more cooldown reduction. You only have 30% if you're running 10% in runes, which you are. So this like that's a luxury item for when you're ahead or when you're even versus really big HP tanks. That's what Leandry's is, and you don't have time for luxury. You need a fucking Zanyas because you need to live. That's the only way you win this game is if you survive. You are the sole reason your team will win or lose in this scenario, because you are the most fed person on the team, right? You need to survive to do that. You need to stay ahead once you get ahead, and Zanyas helps you do that. And this does not. It doesn't really do anything for you this late in the game. Like what is the 15 magic penetration that comes from this? It's nothing, right? Fucking Merc Treads outdoes it, right? It's too late in the game for that. If you wanted that, you should have gotten that like first item or like first back or something like that, but you should not be doing that now. And I don't think it's really like a good rush item in general to start off with. Unless you're going for some really like cheesy build where you have like full magic pen rune setup and then you just like do millions of damage in the mid game and roam, but you didn't really even roam or do any mid game stuff. So the Leandries just doesn't make sense to me at all. And it's not a good item to start off with, but in this situation, it's just better to have a Zanya's. So, I mean, maybe you're tilted, but I don't know why you flashed back. He wasn't gonna die there. Are you just gonna troll you at your Nexus for 3 minutes? I guess. Alright, yeah, this game is pretty over. So there were a couple laning mistakes, mostly with wave control and like when you backed, things like that, that cost you a CS lead early on. Like your CS lead could have been a lot better. This would have been a really easy game to get perfect CS on Syndra because your lane opponent wasn't really doing anything. Um, and if you're not gonna roam, then you should make it your fucking objective to get perfect CS. You got one good bot lane roam. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you didn't roam at all this game, but you didn't have that was your one roam. Your one roam, which net you one kill, didn't get you a dragon. So, like, if you're just gonna play for lane control, then get perfect CS. Go for that. It was more than possible this game if you had, handled your lane a little bit better. Like what? You're only missing 40 CS at 32 minutes. That's easy. I saw you miss 4 minions like 10 times at least. So I guess you're just gonna let your team die.
Blue team double kill.
Oh, gotta clear those minions. At this point, this game is pretty fucking over. But no, the blue team voted for a surrender. Yeah. So there were some laning mistakes. Just
Red team's
basic
inhibitor has
trading
been
mistakes, right? Where
destroyed.
you're trying to use spells for no reason.
Red
You used
team's
a lot of
inhibitor
Qs
has
to
been
push minions when you
destroyed.
necessarily didn't need to. You used E's to push minions when you necessarily didn't need to, and that's not as much of like a mana handling mistake as it is a cooldown handling mistake. Because if you use your E in lane, you become really vulnerable. That's your only tool to counter an all-in from a jungler, from a mid laner, from an ADC, from a blitzcrank with someone else behind him, something like that. Like that's your only counter all-in tool. So you should be more careful when you use your E on waves. Um, and like you made one roam happen mid game, but you didn't really do more than that. You never really snowballed your vision control. I didn't see you getting deep wards into the enemy jungle at all, or even like wards into your own jungle. Like when you have your yellow trinket, you need to be using it on cooldown. I saw you place like one pink ward, which is good. You should probably have more pink wards, and you should definitely be placing more yellow wards because you were pushed up a lot without wards, and you could have been punished pretty hard by that Graves, especially with the Lysandra there to just lay the CC on top of you. Um, And then after this, my biggest complaint is just not building Zanyas. Like I assume this is going towards the Zanyas. I hope to fucking god it is. I hope it's not going towards a Abyssal because an Abyssal wouldn't do nearly as much for you as Zanyas. Um, so yeah, those are your big mistakes. You mishandled some mana early on. You missed an opportunity to kill Lysandra because of your mana handling. You lost some minions because of bad backs, and then you didn't build Zanyas, which was probably like the only way you stay in this game. So let's watch the sad end of this game. GG.